Hello there, dear viewers, and welcome to haQ attaQ. My name is Jakob. I'm your host, and you're watching a haQ attaQ episode. And in this episode, I want to show you why Timeless 3 has become not only one of my most used delay apps, but it's kind of become the delay app. Now, the tap window is over here, and each of the up to 16 taps can be edited. Now, the taps window can be switched over to an edit mode, and we can do that by tapping the taps up here, and when we tap that, we get into this tap edit view where we can double tap to add taps. And I thought that would be a funny joke, but it just makes me sound annoying. Well, double tapping allows you to add taps, and by dragging them, you can move them around and change their timing, and dragging them up and down changes their volume or gain, basically. Now, all of these taps can be modulated. Next to the tap window, we have something that kind of looks like Pro Q3 because it kind of is. It's part of what you get inside Pro Q3, which is up to 6 filters that you can use. And of course, you can switch them out to different filter types, and you can actually modulate these filter nodes too. Now, right beneath the tap window and the filter view, we have some more stuff, because not only is Timeless 3 a tap delay, it is also a multi-effect. And so here we have a drive. Now, this will work as a saturation/distortion unit. And after that, we have something called lo-fi, and this pretty much works as a signal degrader or a bit crusher effect, kind of like that. Both of these will dirty the signal coming into Timeless 3. Now, next to this, we have diffuse, and it kind of works like a diffuse inside a reverb and actually allows you to get Timeless 3 to sound a bit more like a reverb, because the diffuse will even out the taps. So if you're using a lot of taps in here and a lot of feedback and you drive the diffuse up high, you're getting that reverb kind of feeling instead of a delay feeling. Next, we have something called dynamics, and this has 2 modes, because if you tweak it clockwise, you get more of a compressing effect. And if you tweak it counterclockwise, you get a gating effect instead. So a compressor and a gate all in one here. After that, we have a pitch module, and this will allow you to pitch stuff up an octave or down a whole octave. And with it, you can create shimmering delay effects. Now, the remaining controls here are stuff you'd normally find in a delay, like being able to set up the time, being able to set up the feedback. In here, you also have cross feedback, and then you have a control for deciding if you want this effect to sound mono-ish or stereo-ish. And then, of course, you have dry and wet signal controls. Now, all of these controls are a bit more advanced than you'll find in a normal delay, but yeah, these are pretty much stuff that you'd expect to find in a delay effect. Now again, I want to highlight that what we've been going through here, the taps, the filter, the effects, and all of these controls here for the delay, they can all be modulated. And there's really no limitation. There's some, but almost no limitations. Alright, so down here we have a plus sign where it says add modulation, and when we tap that, we get a list of different modulation sources, 6 of them to be exact. And through the power of video editing, I've added an instance of each type of modulation source. Now over here we have a slider, and it works like a mixer fader, and it also has two modes. Right now it has its minimum value down here and maximum value up here. But if we press this triangle here, we can switch it over from a 0 to 1 mode to a -1 to 0 to 1 mode. And when we do that, we're basically creating a crossfade. So you have a negative maximum value down here and positive maximum value up here. Now the XY pad can do something similar, and right now it's set to -1 to 0 to 1, but if we set it to 0 to 1, then we have the minimum value down here and maximum values going out to the sides like this. We also have an XLFO, and this is a very powerful LFO because it's more than just an LFO. Not only can we change the way it works by changing the waveforms by skewing it like this, you can make it into a triangular waveform by pulling this to either side. Now, as you can see here, it says 1 over here and 2 over here. Well, we actually have up to 16 steps that we can add for this LFO. And so this is what makes this LFO so powerful. And if we close this, we can actually see this crazy waveform. And we can even control this waveform from this little box. Because if we tap and hold and pull up, we can control the rate. And if we drag sideways, we can actually control the shape of this LFO. Now inside the LFO we can also find controls for tying it to a tempo or tying it to a keyboard control, if you've got a keyboard connected to Timeless 3, that is. It's a very powerful LFO, and this LFO alone has made me fall in love, totally in love with Timeless 3, because it allows you to create unconventional, unpredictable modulation movements. Next, we have two envelopes, an envelope generator and an envelope follower. Both envelopes are pretty much dependent on audio coming into Timeless. It will use that audio to detect increases and decreases in amplitude and then use that information to create modulation signals. The envelope generator looks just like any envelope because it has an attack, a decay, a sustain, a hold and release, and you can also curve the slopes for this one. Personally, I prefer the envelope follower because it works really well with transients. So if you want to build patches that work well with drum sounds, then this one is great for that. It even has a transient mode. And you can switch to that if you press right here and choose transient. Lastly, we have the MIDI sources, and if we open this up, we can see that there's a list of different MIDI things that we can use. And not only that, you also get to select the curve for how the signal behaves. I just love this. There's so much to choose from. Now you can actually keep on building here and add as much as you want until you get so much you have to scroll for an hour, maybe not for an hour, but you know what I mean. You can add so much in here, and sometimes it might even become overwhelming. And then what's good with this is that you can actually hide the sources that aren't touch controls by pressing over here, and that way you'll be left with just the touch controls. Very neat. Now, the way that you actually set modulation up is by dragging a node from a source to a destination. And so you tap and hold a node like this and you get this little line. And then you just need to hover over whatever you want to modulate and it will lock to that. Well, let's say we wanted to modulate the delay time. We just let go right here and we get this. And now we get to select how much of the signal we want to use to modulate the delay time. And we can drag this up and down. And this is also hard to get sometimes. Sometimes you might miss this window because of the fact that it's not optimized for a touch screen. Now, the scale can be inverted by pressing here where you see a plus sign and you get it to a minus instead, meaning it will become inverted. What's sweeter with this is that you can even go further because we have some nice touch interfaces. So let's say I wanted to control the way that the LFO is affecting the delay time. Well, I could drag this node, go to the node over here, and then let go there. And now I can actually control the amount of the LFO and how much it affects the delay time. And you can keep doing this. So you can modulate modulation sources with other modulation sources. And that way you can build some extremely intricate patches. This is something I actually hate using these apps because on iOS you get a sense of feeling that these were made for PC or Mac, so you would use them with a mouse, right? And when you try to use them with a finger, they're kind of hard to control sometimes. It's the only complaint I have, and sometimes that complaint can be pretty big when it comes to Fabfilter plugins, but I'm suffering through it because the plugins are simply that good. Yeah, but I'm starting to think more and more that maybe I should just use one of these when I'm programming my patches. In the end, I just cannot recommend Timeless 3 enough. And if you're a sound designer, then investing in Timeless 3 is not something you're ever gonna regret. It's one of the most powerful delay units out there, and what you can actually do with it, it goes far beyond what a normal delay app does. It's just insane in so many ways. If you wanted something more powerful, you're gonna have to build it in a modular, which is possible, but here it's already done. If you like the work I do on this channel, and if you want more of this type of content, then helping me out by pressing that thumbs up is, that's the first way of doing it. Then down below, why don't you comment? Would you want Timeless 3? Do you need it? Do you not need it? Do you still don't see why it's worth the money that you have to pay for it? Maybe you have Timeless 3 and you also want to recommend it to others. Go crazy in the comment section down below, because YouTube loves that stuff, and quite frankly, I love it too, because I read all of your comments even though I don't respond to all of them. Now, if you want to help me out in a financial way, then always go and check out my music first, because I really like it when people do that. So you can find a full list of links down below. And if you don't want to do that, then I've got PayPal and Patreon. And if you don't want to do any of it, then that's fine too. And as usual, I wish you a very productive week. Now go finger all of your stuff and have a lot of fun doing it.
You cannot hide it all. I'll break that firewall. You tell me to stop, but I don't want to stop.
Warning.
I'm coming for you.